17 days before she was shot to death and her house burned to the ground, Nanette Krentel emailed her father this image of a mystery man lurking outside her front gate.
She said she was being followed. She also said that she had found a knife and cigarette butt on the property. And she said somebody has come onto the property.
In her email, Nanette wrote this caption: "This was the day I got out to get the mail and looked up, and this man was walking towards me. He just looks creepy." The man is unidentified, and nothing apparently came of it. Dan was worried about his daughter's safety living in the rural bayous of Louisiana, so she sent him pictures of her arsenal.
She had one gun in her purse, one gun, a different gun in her car, another gun in the house, plus she had a Remington 20-gauge home defense shotgun. And I know there was an AR-15 because she said, "This is my baby."
Best friend Lori Rando says Nanette amassed the firepower to protect her from someone a little closer to home. Her brother-in-law, Stephen's brother, Brian Krentel.
She never felt safe, not even in her own home.
She knew how to use a gun.
Oh, yeah.
Because of her brother-in-law, she carried a gun around with her the entire time.
Everywhere she went.
Do you think he would harm you, harm Nanette?
I did not believe it, but when something like this happens, you have to think that that's a possibility, because if that's the case, he or anybody should pay for this.
Nanette revealed her fears about Brian in a series of Facebook exchanges to Lori, saying, "The night he got arrested, he told Steve he was going to get out, kill us, and then himself."
We had many conversations via emails talking about Brian and how scared she was of him. He would threaten her because I think he felt that she was kind of sticking her nose in his family business where it didn't belong.
Why would Nanette claim she felt threatened? Stephen says it could be because of an incident a few years before Nanette's death.
He asked you for help one day, but he was drinking and driving.
He was drinking, and the police wound up arresting him that evening, and he went to jail for about a year. And I know that he felt, because Nanette did go with me when we went to the scene that night, and he felt that we bared some responsibility for that, and he had a hard time forgiving us for that.
Brian has a long rap sheet with 36 arrests for petty crimes, so that, along with those alleged threats, made him a person of interest.
He was a second person of interest, so we had to go back and follow up in our investigation to see where his whereabouts were. And his alibi checked out, and he's still a person of interest, but not at this time.
That alibi was as ironclad as the jailhouse ankle bracelet he was wearing. Brian was on house arrest at his mother's home, and security video places him there the day of the murder.
Was he also home the night before?
That is correct. We have information that we checked out his alibi, and he was present at that time.
The sheriff says Brian cooperated with investigators.
Has he ever come to you and said, "Listen, I had nothing to do with this"?
I really haven't asked. I haven't asked him, and we've never really discussed it. I believe in what the sheriff's office says, and if they could find a connection, they would.
Well, Stephen may not have asked his brother, but that won't stop Crime Watch Daily from getting the answers straight from Brian. It's Melissa McCarty. I'm with Crime Watch Daily. With his brother Stephen's help, we spoke to Brian on the phone. So obviously you and your brother were a person of interest. You both ended up taking and passing polygraphs. Did you volunteer, or how did that come about?
I volunteered to take the test after they asked me.
Okay, and you had
So
no
they
problem
did
with that?
Oh, no, ma'am, no, ma'am.
So when you heard that this was a homicide and it was a murder, what went through your mind?
Actually, I couldn't believe it, you know? Just as I've known her, you know, why would anybody think of doing that? Or why would they want to do that, you know? So it was a total shock.
What was going through your mind when they said that we're looking into you?
Actually, it didn't really bother me because I didn't have nothing to worry about, you know. I I loved her. She was like a sister I didn't have, let's put it that way.
There was an email that Nanette said that she had been afraid of you, that maybe there was a threats exchanged at one point. Do you remember an altercation or a fight?
Oh, not with Nanette. Not my brother, I might have had a fight. I mean, I've been fighting with him since I was born. But with Nan, I never had a crossword, and she never had a crossword to me. It does shock me because, I mean, I would think she would have came and asked me first, or if she had a problem with me.
The sheriff said that it's definitely not random. Whoever did this knew where they lived, knew of them. Who do you think? Do you have any theories or any?
I would not have a clue. You know, it'd be like snowing in Louisiana. It's a one-time thing every now and then, you know?
It's hard to believe that anyone would ever think murder is just a one-time thing. Investigators are back at square one. The coroner says it wasn't suicide. Is there a clue detectives have overlooked? Next.
She seemed to be injured a lot.
The mysterious injuries that make Nanette's friend wonder and worry. Plus, was Nanette's husband hanging out on the cheating side of town?
She told me that she thought Steve was having an affair.
Your wife is a really good shooter and always carried a gun. Do you think she was caught off guard? Could she see someone coming? What's your gut tell you about that day?